Okay. So I'm going to start recording this so that I can make it available for anybody who isn't able to attend tonight. And as I alluded to, I invited everybody to this session. I was going to host it for just my own career prep students, but my experience this semester has shown me that if I do that, I'll only get 2 people who show up. So I thought I would open it up to yes, you're laughing, I'm crying. I'm glad I opened it up to everybody because most of you are in different sections, according to what I can tell. Thank you to my own students who are here. And I decided on this time of day because we had some good turnout last week at the live will information sessions at the 7 o'clock session. So although this is kind of a terrible time for everybody, it's also kind of a good time. So it is what it is, right? So what I would like to do tonight is a few things. First of all, I would like to review your 3 interview assignments. Don't be scared. You have 3 different things coming up over the next few weeks with respect to interviewing, okay? There are 3 different parts of so there are 3 different assignments. And the good news is they don't require a lot of work on your part. And this course is not going to have any new content, nothing to read, nothing to do for the next 2 weeks, except to focus on these 3 things. Okay, so I want to just make sure you know exactly what those 3 things are. And then I want to spend the rest of the time focusing on the biggest part of those 3 things, which is your live Zoom interview. And first, I'm going to review with you the grading rubric so you can see exactly how you will be graded and assessed on that assignment, because it is worth 20% of your grade. So we'll look at the rubric, and then we're going to launch into questions. And I'm going to give you a heads up about the types of questions you're going to be asked, and we will go back and forth. And I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to pick on some of you and ask for some participation in getting you to answer some of my test questions. And then I'm also going to answer some questions that you guys ask me. So I'll ask you, if you have any questions that you always struggle with in an interview, or that you're never sure how to answer, or that always get you tripped up, put them in the chat, and I will come back to them at the end and tell you how I think you should answer them, okay? I'm not an expert, but I have interviewed, well, now thousands of students. And I know where a lot of you get stuck and where a lot of you are successful, and what can help you be successful. So Gio, I don't know what you're putting in the chat there, but I think you're trying to figure out what those 3 things are that I'm referring to, right? Gio, let's get started, and everybody else, not just Gio. And we'll review the 3 parts of your upcoming few weeks that you have to focus on. And this is actually great news, guys. You guys have been working very hard in this course up until now. We all have. It's very intense at the beginning, and it's about to get a lot easier. Okay, so just bear with me. Once we get through this interview part, the only other thing that you have is a small test at the end. No other assignments, no other big things to do, so we can breathe a little bit, okay? All right, let me share my screen. And I'm going to take you into my own eCentennial course, keeping in mind that those of you who are in a different course, yours isn't going to look the same, but it should have basically the same content. So in my eCentennial course, if we go, and yours should be the same, if you go to content, there should be a section called assignments. And this section should have the assignments that you've already done, which is a lot, okay, LinkedIn, Magnet. And then down at the bottom of the assignment section, there should be 3 activities and assignments related to interviewing. Those are the 3 things that I am referring to, okay? And those are now coming due between now and November 25th-ish, okay? So over the next two and a little bit weeks. If in your course you don't see this part, you don't see these 3 things, you can email your professor and just say, Allison showed us in the interview help session in the assignments folder, could you update it to include the interview items? Okay, and if you want to copy me on that, if yours are missing from your course, you can do that, okay? Okay, so the first activity that I want to highlight is big interview. This is a practice run for your real interview, okay? I call it an activity because if you do it, you get the 5%, okay? It's meant to be an opportunity for you to practice your interview skills, to get an idea of the types of questions that you'll be asked on the assignment interview, in your Zoom interview, and to kind of rehearse. And part of this is, it's done on an online platform called Big Interview, and it's done through artificial intelligence. So it's recorded. So what you'll do is you'll see me or your professor or somebody else on a screen like this asking you an interview question. So why don't you begin by telling me a little bit about yourself? And then you record your answer back to into the system. And you have a couple, 2 or 3 attempts to do that. So you can record it once and then you can watch it. And then if you don't like it or it doesn't look good or you stumbled, you can redo it. And again, I don't care how badly or how well you perform in this big interview. It's meant to be practice. And so that's why you're not really graded on it, but if you do it, you get the 5%. Okay, with the 5%, we're basically bribing you to practice for your interview. Okay, so if you go into this page here for the instructions, you can see originally this was supposed to be due this week, last week. We're a little bit behind. I'm a little bit behind in this course. I hope you understand how that feels. Anyway, so we've delayed it a little bit. And you can do this activity anytime up until Friday, November 20th and still get the 5%. Okay, it doesn't matter when, anytime, ideally before you have your Zoom interview. But it's pretty simple to sign up. You just go to this link, which is Centennial College's Big Interview account, and you create the account and you register. And then they send you a link to your email address and you have to go in and click verify. Okay, and then you have an account. It's quite simple. And then you're going to, once you're registered, you're going to go into, I think it's My Assignments, and you're going to search for your class's assignment using, or this activity using a code. Now, this code for my students is going to be different than the code that your teacher gives you, okay? So don't use my code, use your own teacher's code, and, or otherwise, you know, if you answer the wrong questions, I'll try to figure it out, but you might be jeopardizing your marks if you respond to the wrong questions, okay? And when you put in that code, you'll see your teacher's name and their big interview activity. And again, what it is either me or your teacher or somebody else asking you a series of recorded questions, and you record your answers. And if you don't like what you record, you can redo it. And that's forcing you to practice. And the questions are very similar to the questions that we'll ask in the assignments, okay? So it gives you good preparation to get an idea of what your Zoom interview is going to be like. Okay, again, you can be terrible in this. and it's going to be okay. You still get the 5% if you do it. So let me stop there and ask if there are any questions about big interview.
Hi, Miss.
Hi.
Miss, sorry, I did something in the big interview. The first question was talk about yourself, and then I did it 3 times because, like, I don't know what's the problem, is the internet or what, but then I can't do. I did the other 4. It's 5 questions. I did the 4, and the first one I didn't do it, so I can't submit it. I can't submit it. I will lose the mark.
Oh, you can't submit it, or like it's not letting you, or you don't want to be done?
I can't submit it. I can't, because like I did the it's 4 questions. I did the last 4, and the first one, no. So I can't submit it. Now I will lose the 5%.
Okay, well, no, that doesn't make sense. So you did it, right? So why don't you, who's your teacher?
Bridget.
Bridget, okay. Why don't you email Bridget and copy me, Allison. I'll put my my email address in.
I emailed you because I said for me, if you have any problem, I talk to you, but I don't know.
Did you email me and I didn't respond?
I don't know, is your email or no?
I thought I was almost caught up on my email, but okay, let me put it in the chat. Sorry, I'm gonna ask you to email me again.
I'm not sure. Okay, can you send please your email, miss?
Yeah,
oh, I didn't send. Oh, this is not the email I sent in. Okay. I sent for somebody else. Okay.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, it's not me. It could be me. This case is not me. Okay, so email Bridget and copy me. And what Bridget should be able to do is just go in and see that you've responded to most of the questions. And
I can talk to her tomorrow in the class, no problem. I will talk with her.
And she and I can chat if there are any issues. Again, this isn't about costing you marks if you accidentally screwed up one question. The goal of the activity is just to get you to practice. So if you did that and it's evident, then you should get the marks. So I wouldn't stress, but we can follow up on it.
I hope, miss. Thank you.
Okay. Lorena, did you have a question about big interview? Yes, Lorena?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I right now I finished the big interview.
Okay.
Okay. Because I am in another class and my due date was before. And I will be in a practice interview with the interviewer tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, and I feel really nervous.
Okay.
But I try to imagine the interview for tomorrow, and I listen. You say if you practice the big interview, you will be okay because the question is similar.
Similar, not the same, but similar. Yeah.
Okay. I try to imagine the job position, and that situation maybe close the real situation, but I say, okay, I don't have idea about what is the best way to review my interviewer or review.
Okay.
Now I know it's not for the exactly a job position. No, it's any job position, if I understand.
Well, we will talk about this, and everybody's teacher might have told them something different, okay? And you're exactly right. In order to be able to adequately prepare for an interview, you need to know what you're interviewing for, right? So I'm telling my students that they are interviewing for any position at the Four Seasons Hotel, Toronto.
Oh, okay.
And if your teacher hasn't told you anything, maybe they haven't, I suggest 2 things, okay? Either you assume that it is for, make up a position, right? You assume that it is for whatever position you might want at the Four Seasons Hotel, maybe. Or you can always ask a question about the person who's interviewing you. So for example, if your interview is tomorrow with Kayla Brown, You could research Kayla on LinkedIn. You could find out about her and her career path. And
Okay.
you can always ask actually about the real person. If you aren't comfortable doing that, then just assume that it is for a position. And we will talk a little bit more at the end, towards the end of tonight, about types of questions to ask your interviewer. Okay?
Okay. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'll get there a little bit closer in a few minutes. Anyone else about big interview before we move on to the interview itself? Yes, hi Farah.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Professor, for being interview activity, do we need to be prepared like the interview in terms of our suits or?
No, great question. Thank you for asking it, Farah. The purpose of the big interview is just for you to ask the questions. Now, big interview has all sorts of, sorry, to answer the questions, big interview has all sorts of different ways to assess you. They can assess you on how you're dressed, on your eye contact, whether you're, moving around too much. But again, for the purposes of this assignment, your teacher might give you some feedback, try this instead of that, or you're saying too much. But again, the purpose is it's just an exercise to allow you to practice. So you will not be assessed for big interview on how you are dressed or any of those other things. If you do it, you get 5%.
And another question is about the time. In each question that we are supposed to answer, it should be 2 minutes, not more. We have to prepare for 2 minutes, not less, not more.
Now I don't know. That's an individual setting that each individual professor might have set up individually. I did not, when I set mine up for my class, I didn't put a time limit, but there is an option to do that. So your professor might have set a time limit. And if she did, that's okay. Then you do really only have that amount of time for each question. That makes it harder, but that is also realistic. A lot of employers do use this type of software to do screening interviews. And also, when you're in a real live interview, it is a great idea to be able to keep your answers concise and not talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, because interviewers hate that. So if your instructor has implemented a time limit, then you do have to adhere to it. Again, you're not going to lose marks if you go over or if you don't fully complete your answer, but it is also good practice to use the time limit. So, make the most of it. It's a good learning exercise if you have a time limit attached.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much.
Teacher.
Yes.
I have 2 questions. The first one is where I can find the code. The second question is you said I did the big interview for practice.
Mm-hmm.
So after how can I do it?
What do you mean? You mean what are you practicing for? Or
no. The first thing is where I can find the code.
Yes, I understood that part, but what was the second part of the question?
The second one is the big interview is a practice. I just answer the 5 questions.
Okay.
That is a preparation for my real interview.
Yes.
But I mean, the content, my answer. How can I know my answer is
if they're right or
valid,
not? Okay.
or less, or how can I
Okay,
answer it?
I understand that. Okay. Well, the idea of the practice, that's a great question, actually, Zhao. And if just to reiterate, her question was, first of all, where can you find the code, right? Okay, let me start there.
Okay.
That's an easy one. And again, Zhao, are you in my class? Am I your teacher? No.
My teacher is Gong Wei. Sorry,
Which
I
section?
don't remember
Which section?
your
Which
name.
section?
Section.
Which section?
I don't know.
Okay, you're not helping me here. Okay, okay. I can, I'll show you in my class where I put the code. This is in table of contents, assignments, and then the activity big interview. Sorry, it's a bit buried, isn't it? Sorry, guys. Just seeing this through your eyes, I can understand why people hate online learning. Sorry. So, Zhao, this is where my my code is for my class. But if it's not clear for your class, I can't promise that your instructor updated this with your own class's code. So
Okay,
you
I will
can
check.
ask your teacher, but I'll just, at the end of tonight's session, I'll just send all the career prep teachers an email, making sure, asking them to make sure that they share the code with you again, okay? For
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now, the second part of that question was, if she's practicing on big interview, how does she know if the answers she's giving
Yeah.
are right or not, right?
Yes.
So we will talk about that a little bit in about 3 minutes, okay, when we start rehearsing the questions. And I'll give you an idea of, you know, what a good answer is, what a better answer is, and we'll look at some of those questions and what the answers should be, okay?
Yes.
When you are using big interview yourselves, you're not going to know if the answer is what the interviewer would be looking for, but when you're watching your own video back, you can definitely look at, you know, are you making eye contact with the camera, or are you looking at your phone or your hands, right? Are you stumbling and saying, so you'll be able,
Okay, I understand.
to notice those things, okay?
Okay, I understand.
Is your camera, here's a big one, is your camera like this? Or are you looking straight
You
at
mean
the camera, okay?
body gestures and your expressions and the other things.
So you can observe your own mannerisms, your expressions, how professional you sound, how confident you sound. But in terms of whether the questions are answered well, that's what we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Okay, so on that note, let's go back to, and I'm going to jump ahead here, guys, okay? I'm going to come back to the Zoom interview in a minute, but before I go to the Zoom interview, which is your big 20% assignment, I want to look at this little one, because this is part of this assignment that a lot of people forget about. And it's called pre and post interview communication. Here's what you need to remember in a real life interview is that it's not just about the interview itself, okay? You're also being judged, assessed, you know, evaluated on how you interact with the employer before, during, of course, and after the interview. Is your communication with them making a good impression? Or you know, are they kind of regretting having you in for an interview before you even make it through the door? So you can read these rubrics and these details on your own, but there are two parts to keeping this in mind for this part of the assignment, okay? The pre-interview communication is this. Your teacher, your career prep teacher, is going to send you an email the day before, a couple of days before, confirming the time that you have signed up for, telling you the name of the person who's going to be interviewing you. They will provide you with the Zoom link where you will access the interview, and they'll confirm your interviewer's email address in case you need to contact them. Maybe you're sick or you're late or something, okay? Now, in real life, if I were arranging an interview and I sent a confirmation email like that to a candidate, if they did not respond back to me, what would I think?
They are disinterested.
I would think that they're disinterested. I would also think that they weren't coming. Okay, so I would book somebody else in that spot, right?
And unpolitic. It's not correct manners.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, not only are these things pre and post interview communication, you're absolutely right. It's good manners, right? It's just good manners. Now, we can't, unfortunately, we can't assume that everybody has good manners. So at the very least, try not to alienate your interviewer. Try to make sure they know that you're coming. So when you receive that email from your teacher that says, this is your time, this is the Zoom link, this is the name of the person who will be interviewing you, because it might not be your teacher, you're going to just send a very quick email back, and you're going to say something like, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to meeting Ms. Brown tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll be there.
No.
Right? So that's basically what the pre-interview communication is. It's very simple. It's 1 or 2 lines, and you're just confirming in a professional manner that you'll be there. Now, please don't say, gotcha, got it, I'll be there, that works for me, see you, thanks, miss. Okay, this is where you're pretending that this is a real interview and you're responding professionally as you would to a real employer. Okay, so that's pre-interview communication. Now, what do you think post-interview communication looks like?
Thank you note.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the thank you note. Yes. Again, good manners, right? And you should do this in real life. After you have an interview with somebody, you should always send them a thank you email. Not only is it good manners, but it is one more opportunity for you to make a positive impression on that person. And if it comes down to you and one other person, and you're the guy that sent the thank you email, then maybe that's the difference. I don't know. Okay, so again, your teacher will provide you with the email address of your interviewer, because the interviewer might be a teacher you haven't met before. And you can always ask the teacher for their email address as well. And you can always search for it in My Centennial by typing their name into the address bar, right? So there's 3 opportunities for you to get your interviewer's email address. And if you forget, you can always email your teacher and get them to confirm, okay? But after you have your interview, you should send a professional thank you email that thanks the interviewer for their time, that reiterates your interest in the position, shows enthusiasm, offers to provide any additional information, and ends with a nice closing, okay? Now, in order for your teacher to be able to mark you for this, you should copy them on your email. So if your email is tomorrow with Kayla Brown or with Susan Chandy or whoever it is with, after you have your interview with that person, you'll send them a thank you email. You'll copy your own teacher so that they can see that email and give you marks for sending it. And so those two things, pre-interview communication and post-interview thank you email, contribute another 5% to your grade in this class. Any questions on that before we launch into the big interview itself, the Zoom interview, and we start practicing our questions for the last half hour of our time together?
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, when we want to send pre-email and give feedback to the email that our professor sent us, it should be, we have to respond to our professor, the first one, but the last one,
Yes.
It should be for two parts, interviewer and our professor, yes?
Yes, thank you, Farah, and it's good to clarify that. Your professor is going to be the one confirming your interview time with you, so you'll respond back to them. Okay. Absolutely. But the second one, the post-interview part is where you're thanking your interviewer, themselves, right? Now, all the interviewers are being asked to, if they receive a thank you email, to forward it to their professor. They often forget. So it's always good for you to copy your own professors so they have their own copy and they can make sure you get marks for sending that thank you email.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
I also have a question about the code. The code, for what use? Why you need to give us the code?
Okay, I'll show you, okay?
The code for what use? Why I need it?
I will show you right now.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. If you have the questions, then other people have the questions. I will show you where the code goes. So this is the big interview website. And I am going to, this is something similar to what you'll see when you log in. And then you're
this is big interview.
This is big interview, yeah. And this is the page you'll see when you log in. You'll go up here to assignments.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, do you have an assignment code? And you'll put it in there. Do you see that?
Oh, okay. I remember. I use it. Okay.
Okay.
My